like to start with a land acknowledgement. We humbly acknowledge that St. Margaret's School is on the unceded land of the Esquimalt Nations, Songhees Nations, and Wasanich Nations. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we recognize the harmful repercussions of colonization continue today. I am so grateful to participate in these purposeful connections with our alum today on this amazing campus that I both live and work on. I commit to continuing to build meaningful relationships and to authentically honor my relationship with this land. This Saturday, February the 11th, marks a very special day, the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. This special day is an annual observance adopted by the United Nations General Assembly to promote the full and equal access and participation of females in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields, STEM. As a STEMx school centered around inquiry, our vision is to ensure our students have the confidence and the competence to pursue any field they choose, including STEM. We know how important their contributions are to creating a thriving world. So welcome to all of you, our students, faculty, parents, guests, and to our panel today. We are so fortunate to have our alum here today, bringing their talents and competence every day and contributing to a better world. They will share with us some of their insights and their personal journeys in the area of STEM. I would like to thank you all for your time, your passion, and for obviously making a difference. We appreciate our alum sharing with us today and the learnings that all of us will have from it. Now I'd like to invite Ms. Emerson up to come and introduce our panel and our STEM captains who are facilitating our discussion today. Marilyn.
Good afternoon, and as Ms. Klein said, I'm Mary Lou Emerson. I'm the director of the junior school, and I'm the managing host of today's special event. So thank you for being here. We're excited to have you here. It's my great pleasure to introduce two of our three STEM captains. Our STEM captains have worked hard to plan and organize the questions in particular for today as part of their initiative as captains. We have Ali Horgan in grade 10, Srinidhi Ramesh Babu in grade 12, and our facilitator for the panel today is Matea Kadi. So come on up, Matea. Matea is in grade 11. Our guests today, as was mentioned, are very familiar with our school as they are all former SMS students. So for some of them, they were on campus when there were very few buildings, and then for others of us, they were on campus when there were a lot of buildings. So I'd like to begin with Lisa Marie Blackwolf. She's from the class of 1983. Lisa Marie is a sonar combat systems technologist. That's quite a title, with Lockheed Martin Canada. Her current work supports the critical needs of Canada's Department of National Defence submarine fleet. Can you imagine working with submarines? Pretty interesting. Katie McGough, we welcome you. Katie's from the class of 1990. Katie always knew that computer science and math were a great fit for her skills. She's now a software developer and team leader with Certain. This company provides background screening globally. They operate in over 200 countries and territories and was named as Victoria's Anchor Tech Company by Viatech back in December. And Grisha, some of you may recognize, put your hand up if you know and recognize Grisha. Yeah, there we go. So Grisha, I'm going to say it, Bhatnagar, from the class of 2018. And Garisha is just finishing off her last semester at UVic for a Bachelor of Science in Biology with a focus on biomedicine. She's also been involved in medical and laboratory research and worked at the BC Children's Hospital as a research assistant. So she's just on her journey in her STEM field. So welcome to all three of you. Today's format of this is that Matea We'll ask some questions, they'll have some answers, and at the very end, we may have time for a couple of Q&A, a couple of questions and answers. So thank you, and please welcome our guests today. I'm not sure who gets the mic first, so I think you're just going to pass it.
Hello, everyone. I am so pleased to be here with these amazing alum. It is amazing to have you here and to hear your stories. So we'd like to first start with a question to Lisa Marie. What attracted you to following a path with the military for your post-secondary educational experience?
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to this. It's quite exciting. So I hate to admit it, but I was back in the 80s, 40 years ago, the biggest employer was the Department of National Defense and Dockyard, Her Majesty's Dockyard. And I didn't quite know that it was going to be a military event, but having said that, it was a 4-year apprenticeship that I went for. So I applied, there was 200 applicants at the time. It was a written exam, and St. Margaret's prepared me for writing exams. I don't know if they still do it in the gym, but so it was a written exam, and with 200 applicants, and I did get the highest mark in the application. And so I started a 4-year apprenticeship, and in that apprenticeship, I covered sonar, radar, communications, and fire control, which is weapon systems. And working in the Department of National Defense, I was enthusiastic, and they were enthusiastic to make sure I had training. So for answering the question, it was basically to further my education. Over the years, I did just under 35 years with the Department of National Defense. I have had a fantastic career as my first career. When I first started, technology was vacuum tubes. Then it went to basically, from there, it progressed to the small combat components. And then we went into the microprocessors, and I'm still in the field, so I'm seeing all the next technology. But working with the military was absolutely fantastic. I received training through the different stages as new technology came available. They would send me on course. I was fortunate as a civilian. I was still able to go and see the world. I've been to Japan, I've been to Korea, I've done coursing in the UK, coursing in the States, on the East Coast. It's been absolutely fantastic to see how the technology has changed over the years. So that's why I went into that career.
Thank you for that insight into that type of career path through the military. Now a question for Katie. How did your time at SMS prepare you for pursuing a career in STEM?
It's funny because I, over the years, have talked to people who didn't go to St. Margaret's, and I still have friends from St. Margaret's, so I have this conversation from a lot of different perspectives. And the most important thing that I got out of, I would say the most important thing I got out of St. Margaret's, there's a lot of great things, was the ability to focus on school. So being an all-girls school really worked in my favor. Draw your conclusions. The fact that like the academics was my primary focus. Like personal relationships, absolutely important. I had a great group of friends that I came up with. But the ability that we were all generally pretty focused on our academics. That was the most important thing that I spent most of my brain power on, was the academics versus internal politics of high school. So for me, that was hugely powerful because it helped me find out what I wanted to do, what I liked doing, how I studied, how I learned. With limited distraction, so that when I got to places like university with significant distraction, it was a lot easier to succeed there as well. And then the other thing, okay, so one thing, but there's two. The other thing it got me was just completely, I don't want to sound weird on this, genderless confidence, having nothing to do with my gender, just confidence about me, how I behave, how I learn, who I am, how I think, just who I am with absolutely nothing to do with being female at all. Like it was nothing, because it's just not a thing here. So that, I'm phrasing it weird, but if you understand, like it's just you. You are just you for only you. And that is very valuable when you leave into the world where, again, sometimes it's a little harder to remember who you are. So.
Okay, thank you once again for that insight. That's really cool to hear the reflecting perspective on SMS. And now, Grisia, your first question is, what made you feel prepared or unprepared to start a career in STEM?
I would say that one of the things that actually helped prepare me to go into a field of STEM actually was something that I learned here at SMS. I feel like with any field of STEM that you go into, you're probably going to have to do a lot of like questioning. You're going to have to be able to think critically. You're going to have to ask like uncomfortable questions. You're going to have to deal with topics that you may not be familiar with, and like doing that in a unfamiliar setting with people that you may not know, or like with a topic that's probably a little bit complex, can be really intimidating and tough to do. So one of the things that really helped me at SMS was the fact that I was able to start to learn how to ask questions and how to be curious and not be afraid to like ask a silly question or like say the wrong answer, because I was learning in an environment where I felt very safe and comfortable. And it was like, even just the fact that it was like, my biology class had like, what, 11 kids in it? Like, and all of them were my friends. Like, I was not worried if I said something silly or like asked a weird question. So I was able to build up confidence and like learn how to ask these questions because I wasn't afraid to do it when I was in grade 11 or grade 12. And so even when I went to university, obviously it's like I'm going from a class of 11 people to like 300 kids. So I was just like, I would say the first few months of university, I would never put my hand up. I would sit at the back of the classroom because it was like a completely new world to me. But eventually, like because I had that foundation already built, I was able to like branch out and kind of figure out, okay, like in this field, I need to be able to ask questions. I need to be able to collaborate with other people. So I need to build up the confidence like that I once had in high school and do the same kind of thing. So I would say that helped me really be prepared to like kind of pursue specifically like I guess biology, because that's my background, but I would say it's applicable to any field of STEM. But in terms of like being unprepared, I would say that like even in a high school course or university course, you may try to learn like critical thinking or analytical skills, and like I feel like it can only be taught up to a certain extent, but when you need to take it like a step further when you're actually in the real world and like doing work in a scientific field. And so that sense, like I don't know if there was anything that really could have prepared me for it. So I think I was a little bit unprepared in terms of that when I like actually started doing research and stuff. It was stuff that I had to learn on the spot, but yeah, I would say that was my one thing that helped prepare me, and that was the one thing that I was a little bit unprepared for.
Thank you for that double-edged sword answer. Now, Lisa Marie, how did the military experience change your perspective on being a woman in STEM?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it actually did. I was quite fortunate, as I said before. I was never put in any position where I was told or indifferent that I couldn't do something. And I think that actually came back from St. Margaret's. In my grade 12 year, I had an enjoyment and wanted to take an industrial science course. And back in the 80s, we did not have STEM, but St. Margaret's didn't even hesitate They said, if you wanted to take that course, you can take that course. You can take it correspondently, because we don't offer it. And they gave me the opportunity to not only take the course, they provided me with the lab here so I could do my experiments with the chemistry teacher at the time, Mr. Young, and the physics teacher. And I sat there in a classroom by myself with an instructor, and we went through my tests that I had to do in my labs, and I was able to do that. And I wrote the final exam for that course in Mrs. Sendel's office, the headmistress's office. So when I left St. Margaret's, it didn't even occur to me that there was going to be obstacles. I was always just given that opportunity. If I wanted to do it and I put the enthusiasm in, it was always just there. So I was quite fortunate that way. And I did get 100% on that correspondence course.
Thank you. All of you are making me very grateful to go to SMS, and it sounds like you are, but too. Thank you for that insight. It's really interesting to see and gives me a little hope for the world. Now to Katie. What did you see as an obstacle after graduating from SMS?
Boys. Straight up, that was the hardest thing for me. I went to university and was like, oh my goodness. That is not a super popular opinion. It was, so let's go with interpersonal skills. I was so focused on academics here that was still a challenge. As I say, it was still, I was set up for success by going to St. Margaret's. I even did, like in high school, I did sports outside of St. Margaret's. I did like swimming. I did sort of track. I was a runner outside of St. Margaret's. But the biggest challenge for me was the many different places to focus my energy after I left here. Again, it was nice to focus here, and that was a challenge outside of here. I overcame the challenge, you'll be pleased to know. But that was the hardest thing. I don't think I could have done anything differently, to be honest, to change that for myself. I had the best start to university in my case. And we all talk about, like, we went to university or we did internships. There's a lot of different paths. For me, it was university. And I had a great start to that, but that was the biggest challenge for me, was just the many places to focus and almost no oversight. That's the thing. I was talking to you before this. Nice small school, small classes, no, it wasn't you, sorry, it was you. People notice what you do, and if you are not succeeding or if your focus is elsewhere, and there's a lot of oversight in a good way, and you get to university and there is not. So you're kind of on your own from that perspective. So it was a couple years of like a little bit rough to get back on the right track, but I did, and it's fine now. I can talk to boys, it's fine.
Thank you. And to Garija, your second question, do you mind elaborating on how you were encouraged to explore medicine and other STEM fields?
I will be completely honest. I was kind of pushed to pursue STEM because of my parents. And I know it sounds like a stereotypical, you're given like 3 options, doctor, engineer, lawyer, like you can pick between these 3 things. It wasn't anything like that. My parents have always been very supportive of me. They were always happy with whatever I chose to, like whatever field I chose to explore, but they always kind of just gently nudged me towards the field of medicine, which honestly has its pros and its cons, because there's like 2 sides that you can look at it. And I'm saying this because I feel like there may be other students in the room that are kind of in a similar boat, where your parents are kind of just like pushing you to do something that you don't know if you want to do. You haven't had a chance to explore other options for yourself. So like throughout all of high school, even middle school, and then into university, I was always doing stuff that was kind of geared towards medicine or like pursuing a career in healthcare. And there was definitely a period of time where I would question it, because I'd be like, is this something that I've chosen for myself, or is this something that my parents have chosen for me? And it's obviously like pursuing a career in healthcare is not something that you can do based off of somebody else's decisions. It's like a commitment, and it's like you're dedicating your life to be of service to other people. So I really wanted to make sure, like in myself, that this is something that I'm choosing for me. And so that's where you're part of the question of like exploring other areas of STEMs come in. And like to make sure that I was making this decision for myself, I tried out other courses. I would do like computer science, physics, chemistry. I kind of liked computer science. It was pretty cool. I did very basic computer science. I like learned HTML, I made a website, but I thought it was fun. Like it was this cool creative thing. It felt like I was learning a new language. I didn't go very far with it because it wasn't like something that sparked passion within me, but I thought it was cool. Physics and chemistry I ran away from as fast as I could. It was not my thing. I kind of had a feeling in high school when I was doing physics in 11 and 12, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't know if physics is for, I don't even think I did physics 12. But yeah, so like I started exploring all of these different fields, and like I was always just drawn back to medicine or like human anatomy, human physiology, and it kind of just helped solidify for myself that, okay, this is a path that I want for me. And so if there are other people in the room where they feel like you're kind of being pushed in a direction that you're not sure that you want to go in, it may not be the worst thing, because at least you're trying something out. And just remember that it doesn't come down to somebody else's decisions. What you do, you always, at the end of the day, have your own freedom to make your own decision and what you want to take. And if, at least in my experience, like it was university, I had a lot of opportunity to try different things. So there's always options out there to try different fields, and you might find something else that you really like to do, or it might just help solidify your passions further.
Thank you. And those are some great answers. We're going to go through one more round of general questions. Back to Lisa Marie. How have you maintained a connection to SMS after graduating, and what has it brought value, and how has it brought value to your time as an alum and your experience?
Okay, well, that's actually a very easy question. So I graduated in 1983, which was 40 years ago, which is, I can't even wrap my head around how long ago that is. And yet, I'm still really close with the girls that I graduated with and the girls that graduated after I did and before I did. And it's that close knit of that community that we have. I mean, just recently, for my birthday, my 57th birthday, 4 of us alumni girls got together and went out on my friend's boat. We went crabbing, and it was like we were 16 again. The relationships don't change at all. It's absolutely fantastic. And now that I've been doing my job and my career, I'm on my 2nd career in the sciences, and I absolutely love it. And I want to make sure that you guys know that there is so much fun stuff to do out there as a career. I mean, I've gone to sea on a submarine. There's not many people that say they can do that. So, there's so many options for you now. It's absolutely fantastic. I look at how the technology's changed, and I'm still excited about doing it. And again, I come back to the school regularly to sort of check on the next generation. And yeah, it's very hopeful. I enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you. And to Katie, how important was the SMS community sense of belonging to you during your time as a student, and were you able to find it again in tech after graduating?
Oh, great question, which I did know you were going to ask. Fake surprise. No, so my sense of belonging here was it's important. Again, like, it feels like yesterday and also an eternity ago that I was a high school student. So I did not do junior school here. I only did from 6 on. So my time here was high school. And high school, as you guys know, is kind of rough sometimes with all the feelings and the hormones. And it's a confusing time sometimes. So having again, a simpler experience with friends that I loved, even through being 15 together. We came out of it on the other side, it's fine. Similarly, I actually have a friend that I'm seeing after this from high school, and some of my oldest friends, my absolute oldest friends, are from my graduating class. I see them a few times a year, but I would consider them my closest, oldest confidants. So that belonging was so important to, again, having confidence. I'm not sure you can tell this about me. I have a solid sense of confidence about myself. So finding that in tech was interesting. Again, because having that confidence from high school really, really helps. Knowing yourself, knowing what you do and don't like, and knowing how you want to hold yourself and how you're comfortable behaving and what your values are. These are important things when you get into a scenarios where you are unsure of who's around you and how do they perceive you and where do you fit. And so yes, I did find that. I found that at many stages of my career. I found that in university. I went to school with great people. Again, university is usually much bigger, so similarly 300 people in a class. You're not friends with all of them, but I found a core group throughout the years that were my people, and that was great. But knowing who I was in those groups of people and knowing who I actually was when entering a new group of people, new job, another new job, a conference, everywhere through my career, knowing who I was really, really helped with understanding who was my community, who do I gravitate towards, because it's not always the loudest person in the room, although I am often the loudest person in the room. But knowing who you are and what your values are and what you connect with is important. And understanding that from an early age is nice.
Thank you. And to Karija, what was the biggest challenge you faced in actually making a decision for going for your career in STEM?
I would say that one of the biggest challenges that I've faced with deciding to pursue a career in STEM is just being able to maintain a healthy work-life balance and knowing that this is something that I'm going to need to be really cautious about going forward as well. I would say that my first couple years of university were a little bit rough just because it was I don't know, you think of your medical, applying to medical school, it's there's pressures of, oh, I need to get good grades, I need to be volunteering, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that, and it's overwhelming. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And so I found myself constantly getting burnt out and just being really stressed out, and I kind of would question, is this something that I even want to do? I'm struggling, this is a lot. So I started to realize there isn't anything that I should be prioritizing over my own health and well-being. If this is a career that I want to pursue within STEM, within medicine, it's going to require a lot out of me, and I need to learn how to balance my work and my life, and I need to learn how to prioritize my own health and well-being over any responsibilities that I may have, because not only is it going to affect the quality of work that I do, I'm just not going to enjoy it. So I think around the time of COVID, I kind of had this realization, and I was I need to at least spend 10 minutes outside and go for a walk and spend time with my dog and stuff like that. And so once I started kind of having this perspective shift, and I started to just at least take maybe an hour out of my day to get some exercise or do something that I wanted to do, it really changed the quality of my own work. It just helped me with my time management skills, and it kind of gave me a sense of reassurance that I can do this now. I can manage my responsibilities, and I can manage maintaining a healthier lifestyle. And I know that the road ahead, it's probably going to be more challenges to come, but like I'm building a set of skills for myself to use to be able to manage that and be successful from that as well. So yeah, I would say that has been my biggest challenge so far, just being able to recognize that there is a lot still to come, but in order to be able to do it successfully, I need to be able to develop my own skills and my own, just like recognize the importance of my own health and well-being before doing something like that.
Thank you for that wonderful reflection. Not sure about everybody else, but I see bits and pieces of myself in that, and it's really great to hear how that affected you and how you've been working towards it. So thank you for sharing. Now back to Lisa Marie. You mentioned how you felt very included in your career with the military and with your apprenticeship. Do you think that the people around you also felt that way, like other women, other groups? And if not, was there something that needed to change to make that possible?
Well, working with the military is actually very much like St. Margaret's. And I found that extremely comforting. And I'm going to expand on that. So at St. Margaret's, we were very much like a family, right? And as I went into my new career with the military, and I did schooling with a lot of the other apprentices. We started as a small group. We carried on. And over the years, the military is actually very much family-like. They look after you in the sense of my training. If I had any kind of requests of, I wanted to learn this, they would allow me to do so. Traveling, I was never held back that way. And because my career is so long, and after 35 years, there are a lot of people that I've worked with over the years that the friendships just grew over the years, and we have become a very close-knit group. And submarines and ships, it's a very small community. So yes, I would say that it has carried on. At St. Margaret's, I was a house captain, and that was another aspect of St. Margaret's that allowed me to have that feeling of going into another job where I could take charge of people as I developed my career. I now go on ships. I do trials. I'm in charge of actually running the trial, making sure that everybody's doing what they need to be doing, and that confidence comes from St. Margaret's. It's part of us now.
Thank you. That's wonderful to hear some of your SMS and takeaways. Now, Katie, your water. You have mentioned how you've been very confident, very vocal about a lot of your opinions on this, and we really appreciate it. Now, I'm wondering, how do you think that has influenced your perspective on representing women in STEM?
Yeah, so that's interesting. Like how I feel I represent women in STEM, or how I think people think I might represent women in STEM? Either?
Whichever works for you.
Okay. So I think I represent women in STEM anywhere I go just by being a woman in STEM. Nothing about me, nothing about my personality or the way I do my job or what kind of jobs I choose to do, if I start a business or am an employee, nothing about that represents women in STEM because everyone is different, but just being a woman in STEM and being in the world as me adding to the numbers, basically, is the way I represent women in STEM from my perspective. And I'm never quite sure from other people's perspectives if other people draw conclusions about women in STEM because of anything about me, more than just my presence. So that's interesting because I often think about whether or not, like we think, so I'm going to go on a slight tangent. We often hear about glass ceiling and limited opportunities potentially based on gender or anything really. Like I am a woman, but based on anything, any particular personal trait. But you never really know if those things are happening to you. I've been working in this field 20 years. I have no idea. I'm unaware if something has been held back from me because I'm a woman, because I wouldn't know that it happened to me. However, being vocal and being confident and being just present in the world that I am in, and not particularly restricting myself based on anything internal or external to me, I think is the best opportunity I can have to succeed with whatever I want to succeed in. Choose what I want to succeed in. This is fairly important in life, to actually decide what it is you do and don't want. You don't have to go for things that you think you should because you're a woman in STEM, for example. But being just present is pretty important for visibility and but not just present to the women in STEM, being present to everyone in STEM so that everyone knows we're here. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm pretty vocal, and I'm not shy about events, and I go to conferences, and I go to, I show up everywhere, and I'm pretty happy about that because it just puts me as a representative of us out there. So, yeah.
Thank you for that candid reflection and unique perspective. And Grisia, one more question. So you mentioned finding mental health networks and improving your balance. What sort of support networks did you put in place, and how did you find them in a community outside of SMS?
Yeah, I will definitely say finding like that support community in SMS was so easy. Like I felt like I never struggled with that. Teachers were so easy to talk to. Like you would literally become friends with your teachers pretty much. And like just having smaller numbers and like a smaller school helped in itself generate a sense of community. So it was really nice to have that while I was in high school. But as I mentioned before, like going to university, I went to UVic. It's obviously not like one of the bigger universities like UBC, but even then, like class sizes are huge. And it's like, especially when you're doing general sciences, like it doesn't matter what field of science you're gonna go into, you're probably gonna end up in like a general Chem 101 or biology something. And you're gonna have, the course itself will have like 1,000 kids, and then in your classes alone, 300 to 400 kids. So it's definitely, it can be a bit of an isolating experience. And it's interesting to me to think like science seems like something that, like obviously science includes like a bunch of collaboration and stuff like that, but I never found that in my first few years of university. I actually like never collaborated with any of my students. Like we never had group projects or anything like that. So it honestly, it kind of felt like it was like a bit of an isolating thing where it's just like you're kind of on your own, you have midterms, exams, whatever it may be. So I think one of the most important things for me that helped build a support network and a sense of community within university is just allowing myself to kind of find a group of people within my program that I went through university with, and we would share experiences, we would study together. So it was like a bit of an emotional support group kind of there. But also, I think one thing that really made me feel like a part of a community in SMS was just getting involved in a bunch of different things, like whether it was sports or leadership or whatever it may be. Like I just felt like I was a part of a community, and that in itself is just like a really supportive feeling. So when I got into university, it didn't need to be like science related. I joined random clubs, I went to random pizza nights, and I met different people. And so doing that in itself and like meeting professors can be scary. It's like I was so intimidated to talk to the first professor that I did talk to, but like once you start building connections within the school that you're going to as well, you just feel like, oh, I belong here, like I have a place here, and it takes away like that isolating feeling that sometimes people get when they're making big transitions like that.
Thank you. And now one question to all of you, whoever feels prepared to answer first. We could go down the line or if anyone's ready right away. But what I'd like each of you to please share one piece of advice, your top piece of advice for an SMS senior school student who is interested in, who wants to pursue a STEM career.
Yeah, so just like try so many things. So my career has been computer science, and that is definitely a field at university, let's say. Your career has gone down like the biology path, like there's a clear line. Yours less so, but in that like there's not a class on like submarines, but there are so many jobs to do, so many areas of specialty that aren't a class at university. So you don't 100% know what your job will be. You might have decided, but you might just be interested in like, maybe you're good at chemistry class and you're not entirely sure where that's going to take you. But you know that could be a direction. So I would say, I mean, I did like sociology class, poli-sci. Like I found so many interesting things to do, joining clubs. I did like new student orientation, like before I even started university, met people in like journalism class. You meet so many different people, you try so many different things, whether it's university, college, whatever path you take. I don't want to be too limiting here, but trying a lot of things is so important because you're not necessarily 100% sure what your job's going to be out of academia. And even if you know what that one is, you don't know what the next one is, and you don't have to always go down the same path. So trying a lot of things when you have the opportunity, classes, clubs, etc., meeting different kinds of people that you may have never met before is just so important. This is one version of the world, this school. University is a different version, and there are like an unlimited other number of groups of people and circumstances that are different versions of the world. And if you can like touch a few of them, that's a really great way to find out what you like and are interested in. Okay, that was long-winded.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to add to yours. So I was not an A student in St. Margaret's. I was a C student. And I did go to university. I went to UVic the first year that they offered electrical engineering. I did my first year there. And academically, I did all right, but I really enjoyed the hands-on of doing the labs. I loved the lab work. And from there, I went to Camosun, and I did a 2-year electrical engineering technology course. Again, absolutely loved it. But when I finished that, I couldn't figure out where I was going to work. So again, I went, and that's where I went for an apprenticeship. So my quote for my grade 12 year, when they take your picture in grade 12 and you're supposed to come up with some wonderful quote, I've actually used my quote year after year, because my quote was, "Impossible just takes longer." So I started off wanting to do an engineering course. I never did finish it. I went through all of the different channels. I did a 4-year apprenticeship. I got hired on as a journeyman. I moved up in sort of the ranks of a dockyard as a civilian, and I ended up in the engineering department for the Department of National Defense. So whatever you're interested in, again, just keep trying at it. If you don't get the marks you want, maybe try something else. Go back to it. Just keep working at it. It might just take a little longer.
Thank you.
I would say my answer kind of goes off of what you guys have discussed as well. But I would say for SMS girls that are interested in pursuing a career in STEM, take advantage of the environment that you're learning in right now. Like it's so important. I'll use like a really weirdly specific example, but like I still remember to this day my first university chemistry lab. It was literally, we were mixing salt and water. It was the easiest thing. And then we weighed, like we calculated the density. Like simple chemistry was not difficult at all. But for some reason, I walked into that chemistry lab, I had a quiz, and I was like, I'm freaking out. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. What is water? Like, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. And like, I thought to myself, I was like, why am I freaking out so much? This is crazy. And it's just like, it's such a simple procedure. And it's just, university is just like, I found, for me at least, was like, everything was just heightened. You're pretty much learning, the content was the same as like high school science, but for some reason it just felt so much more intense to me. Whereas in St. Margaret's, when I was in chemistry, we were doing, or even biology, we were like dissecting pigs and like doing all this crazy stuff. And I just never had a fear that I was going to do something wrong, or I never like started a chemistry lab feeling like, oh my gosh, what is water? Like I was always very comfortable in the space that I was learning in. And I think that taking the opportunity to really just take advantage of that, like having a safe environment that you're learning in, you have small class sizes, you're working with your friends, like don't be afraid to make mistakes now, learn from them now, and like build the skills that you're going to use when you eventually pursue a career in STEM. Because like I remember at the end of that first chemistry lab, I was like, I don't know why I freaked out so much. Like I did way crazier things in St. Margaret's, and like I know that I can use these skills that I built to like be successful in university. So I think after that lab, I mean, they were obviously still a little bit nerve-wracking, but I did a lot better because I wasn't freaking out over the simplest procedure that exists. But yeah, I would say just take advantage of just the real community that you have here and the safe learning environment that you have, because the skills that you'll build will take you way farther than you'll know.
Thank you for that wonderful example and fantastic points. Now to everyone, that comes to the end of our prepared questions. So I'm now throwing it out to the audience. If you have anything you'd like to ask a specific panelist or the panelists in general, we do have time for 1 or 2 questions. Lewis?
I have a general question. How did you find the transition from St. Margaret's to a post-secondary education, and what sort of helped you prepare for that?
Yeah, I will say, I think the biggest change that I felt for myself was just the shift in the amount of people that I was going to school with. Like, it really makes a big difference when you're going from a small class size to a big class size, and it can be intimidating and really nerve-wracking. So I would say that's like the biggest challenge that I faced when I had that high school to university switch. But apart from that, I think that like the leadership skills that I also developed in high school, and like you said, the academic skills that you learn, and like kind of learning who you are as an academic student, as a leader, and all that kind of stuff also really helped me in that transition. So like really the only thing that I felt like was a big transition for me was just class sizes. And of course, like it was no longer an all-girls school, it was a co-ed school, which is also like, it's weird. I remember being in my first class like, this is random. And I didn't have to wear my uniform anymore. That was also so weird. Yeah, it was actually really difficult. I have to dress myself every day because, I don't know, are they still called mufti days? Probably, are they? No? Okay. So when I was in high school, we used to have mufti days, and the only thing that I would wear apart from my uniform was just like a hoodie and stuff like that. So I didn't have a sense of style either. So that was another thing that I had to figure out.
It's like things are just like, there's more complication. It's like everything is harder. Like you have to, yeah, figuring out what clothes to put on is like a challenge when you didn't have to think that hard about it before. And the anonymity is hard, being like no one knows you. No one cares. Like you're on your own until you find your people, or until you realize that maybe it's on you to make it your community. You don't have to go looking for people to adopt you. It can be on you. It's your job to like find your people, find your community. But yeah, that initial anonymity is hard. When you go that route of like small St. Margaret's to big university, if that's the route, but that is a hard adjustment.
Yes, from 6 students in my physics class to 200 and some odd students. Yes, that first class is, as you said, and that was 40 years ago, so it's nothing's changed by the sounds of it. So yes, and just the whole uniform thing. So I tend to really stick with the uniform. I find myself, wearing black shirts, jeans when I go and work every day. And I think that's sort of my leftover St. Margaret's. Yeah. And just on another note, you said we have Mufti Day still? Yes? Okay. Well, the military has that as well. They don't call it Mufti Day. But on Fridays for United Way, they can wear civilian clothes, and I thought that was very much like St. Margaret's.
That's really awesome. Thank you all. We have time for one more audience question. Ella?
So this is a general question, but around how and when do you choose which general field you want to go into?
I pretty much knew right from the very beginning. St. Margaret's in grade 11, I believe, had one of those lovely questionnaires that you fill out. I think there was 100 questions, and you'd answer, did you want to be a turkey farmer or a pig farmer? And at the end of that, there was my top 3 topics was physics, math, and chemistry, I believe. So that was, for me, it was like right from the very beginning.
Yeah, so I don't know. Some people know what they want to do. They always know, or their parents know for them. And we all also occasionally, like in the world, talk about passion. I had none of that. My parents didn't have an opinion, and I wasn't sure what I cared enough about. And it's okay. I can't say, I've been doing this version of this job for 20 years-ish. Passion is not necessarily that has come into play for me. It's programming. I'm a computer programmer. It's not always the most, I get more passionate about like meeting people and doing this kind of thing than I do about like the latest programming language. So some people already know, and that's cool. For me, in grade 12, I was really good at computer class, and I read an article that said like, so it was actually not 1990, it was 99, thank you very much. .com boom was like, there's so much money at the end of this rainbow. I was like, well, I like computers and I love money, so there's where I'm going. And it worked out great in the long run, but that was the decision-making process for me. But again, I could have gone that path and then realized that I liked, like, I don't know, history. Again, I tried quite a lot of things. I loved political science in university. Again, for me, saw the bucket of gold at the end of the computer science rainbow and liked that better. But it didn't really matter what I started with, just that I started and tried something and got going. And you can try, like, you can change. I actually know, okay, this is a bit of a tangent, sorry guys. Hope there's actually not a time limit. I know a guy, so not a girl who went to St. Margaret's. I know a guy, and he went to computer science. He started in computer science with me, got a computer science degree with me, then decided that he did that job for about 2 years. Then he went back to law school, was a lawyer, like went through whole law school, became a lawyer, was a lawyer for a few years, and now he's a career coach. So these are all tremendously different things. Like these are all, and he's still alive and he's fine. Like he can buy groceries. Like none of this is a failure. It's all success because he's tried a lot of different things and he's learned a lot of different things about him. And for a while, he liked being a programmer. And then he wanted to try something else. So like there's no, it's good to know early because it makes the decision making easier of what to do after St. Margaret's. But if you don't know, like what class do you like the best, do that for a bit. Like it doesn't have to be like the most important decision of your entire life. There's so many more opportunities for change after this.
Yeah, I would say like pretty much the same. I'm kind of in a point in my life too where like I'm at this weird transition where I'm graduating university at the end of the semester and I don't really know what I'm going to be doing in September. Like I've applied to medical schools and I've also applied to graduate programs for public health. And like if you asked me last year, I would have never even considered to do public health. And like, yeah, my parents kind of nudged me to do medicine and I chose biology. I actually applied to UVic for biochemistry. And I took one course of chemistry and I immediately switched my major as soon as I could. But I also like I decided to do biology and environmental science. That didn't last very long. I did biopsych. That also didn't last very long. Like I switched my major multiple times throughout university. I even considered switching over to kinesiology. That didn't happen, but I stuck it out with biology, but even then it's like I'm finishing my degree and I don't really know what lies ahead of me. And I think like it's really great to, like you said, passion doesn't always play into it, but whatever your interests are, if you start to pursue a field in that, but like don't limit yourself either. Like be open to trying different things, and like it can be kind of scary once you've already set out on a path to suddenly switch, but you have to be open to that change as well, because I don't know, you never know if you take that one like computer science class or political science class or something like that. You might end up finding something that you really like. And even like public health, I randomly took an elective because I needed to fill a spot on my UVic report to satisfy my requirements for graduation, and now I've applied for a public health program. So yeah, really just try to keep your options open, and I don't think that there's ever like really a set time where you know what you want to do. Yeah.
That's one of the nice things about technology. It's transferable from, for instance, like I do acoustics. I absolutely love acoustics, but my training and my ability to look at acoustics is transferable to medical. And from there, it's transferable to oceanography. And you know, the paths you go, it can spider out quite easily. You might start on that route and think, oh, I want to do that, but you get introduced, because you're already in that technology circle, you can get introduced to other aspects of technology, and you'll go, oh, wait a minute, that looks interesting, and you can pursue off that way. It's just a constant learning. And yeah, as you said, don't limit yourself to one thing. You'll find it.
Thank you. Now we are coming to a close for questions, but I was wondering, do you have any final comments or things you'd like to share with the group based on what we've talked about today and the questions?
Oh God, it's just really just try anything and everything that you want to do. In any, like in university, in clubs, in sports, and like just try anything you're interested in. You have no idea where it will take you. So just be open to all of it, really. And yeah, like it feels like a border between like high school and the rest of your life, but it is not. I mean, it's really just the beginning of any option that you want, and it continues to be any option that you want throughout your life. Nothing is limited to like, this is the time to define who you are. Nope, not at all. Like, we're all constantly changing all the time. That's pretty much it. Yeah, like, don't worry. Basically, don't worry.
Yeah, I would say I agree with that completely, and also just be confident in yourself. Like, I definitely think I found it quite easy to find my voice in St. Margaret's. I remember, sometimes I used to think during university too, I remember like we would have whole school assemblies and like a few minutes before be like, okay, you need to talk about this one thing. Like, I think back to how could I just like stand up in front of 300 kids and do that? Like, I used to think about this to myself while I was in university. So it's like, it definitely takes a bit of time to find your own voice, but like take that sense of community and sense of confidence that you build in St. Margaret's in your high school years and take that with you throughout the rest of your life. And always just have a sense of curiosity and don't feel like you're ever limiting yourself to what you're either being told to do or what you're currently pursuing. Like, just try to be curious and, yeah, be confident in yourself.
Okay, thank you all so much for contributing and coming today. Just specifically, Lisa Marie, thank you for your continued dedication to learning. You really brought that to life here, and so thank you for sharing and all of your really cool, like your inclusion in the military and that little family. I hope that shared a bit of perspective with anyone here who is interested in that path. Katie, from your pot of gold to your very candid reflections on not necessarily choosing a job that's your passion, but something you can still like and enjoy and benefit from. Those have been very introspective, so thank you. And Grisha, it was very interesting to hear what is water. But it's also very inspiring to hear all the tales and your very thoughtful expression of how you've matured and grown into your role in university. So thank you all for sharing your experience today. I'd like to thank as well the videographer and photographer we've got, the SMS tech team, and all of the organizers that made this event amazingly possible. Thank you to the students. I understand you're getting a little bit angsty. So we'll be done in just a moment, but I'd really like to thank you all for your calm presence and your amazing questions. And got a little something for the guests, but I have to put the microphone down and start shouting. We have some cards and also just our sincerest thanks
Thank
to
you.
you for coming, sharing your stories. We so appreciate it. So thank you, and thank you to everyone who is here listening.
Thanks for having us.